All right, today we're going to talk about seed starting, specifically the shelves and the lights. This picture up here is our current seed starting setup. It consists of 3 muscle racks, fluorescent and LED lights that we'll go over. When all of the lights are on this shelving unit, it consumes just under a kilowatt of power. So we started off with the 3 muscle racks. The 3 muscle racks go for around $85 per unit, and the size on these ones is 48 wide by 24 inches deep, and it's 72 inches tall, giving you 5 total shelves. Each shelf can hold 4 10-20 seed starting trays. 24 inches deep gives you enough room to have fully support that 10-20 tray lengthwise. 40 inches wide gives you enough room to slide those 4 trays in without having to maneuver them around the end supports. So pros, they're cheap and they're a good size. Those are the only 2 pros for these. They got lots of cons. They're flimsy. The end pillars are come in 2 pieces, and the 2 pieces are joined just by that shelving locking into those keys. Further, the shelving is made up of 4 brackets. It's like an erector set throwing it together. It's an erector set where you can't tighten the bolts. And then it's got particle board shelves. So you throw a particle board shelf on there, that kind of firms everything up. But if you pick it up anywhere besides those bottom 2 portions of the uprights, it comes apart. All right. Next, shelves are made of particle board. They warp even when they're not wet, and when they get wet, they really warp. Other things are their quality control issues. Some of my shelves came with particle board shelving that it was too big for the hole and didn't have the corners cut, so when you put them in, it broke the particle board. Some of them came with a little narrower and a little shorter particle board with the corners cut, so when you drop them in, they just fit. Finally, they lack sides. Why are lacking sides an issue? Predators. See, these critters, we got 4 of them. They seem to think that the seed starts are for them. In fact, they ruined about 100 onions last year, and they really like lemongrass. So when we grow lemongrass, it's really hard to keep them away. I'm told that it's a happy drug for them kitty cats, and they really seek it out. So plan on putting on sides on these at some point, or just putting them in a room where I can keep the cats out. On to the first set of lights we're going to talk about. Fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lights have been popular for a long time, at least in my research when I first started doing these. Lots of people like the fluorescents over the LEDs because they produced some warmth, and this was a pretty common setup at the time. Cool white and warm light gives a wider color spectrum. The fluorescents provide some heat, and plants like heat, so it works out. Other pros for these things are they're available everywhere. You can get them at Lowe's, you can get them at Home Depot, you can get them at Menards, whatever your local building store is, or Walmart, you can probably find a shop light and the fluorescent bulbs. So that's pretty cool. Cons. Bulb life. Fluorescent bulbs dim over time. Mine seem to die every year. So the ones you're seeing here have lasted 4 years, but we've lost a bunch, and these are dim and the ends are going out. So that's a problem. Another problem is they're made of mercury. Well, they've got mercury vapor in them, and they're glass. They break easy, and you don't want mercury vapor in your house. So you end up with a disposal problem at best if they don't break, and you end up with a hazard with glass and mercury vapor in your house at the worst case. Air out your house, don't breathe it. Other problems with are more just to do with the shop light approach. Shop lights are heavy, and they put 2 bulbs together close together, and then you try to get that spread over the 2 feet, and you end up with light and dark spots. So heavy, uneven. Last thing, they take 2 plugs per shelf. I don't like 2 plugs per shelf. Overall specs for this is these GE fluorescent bulbs and the fixtures all together come out to be about $42 a shelf. Power consumption for these two light fixtures per shelf, it's about 108 watts. Manufacturer's specified light output, 11,800. You know, I take these ratings as a grain of salt, and especially with fluorescence, where they have noticeable degradation over time, that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. The color temperature on the bulbs we used were 3,500 and 6,500 Kelvin. All right, on to the next one. So when those fluorescent bulbs started dying on me, I started buying these hyper icon bulbs. I'd already purchased hyper icon bulbs out for my barn. They worked great. Barn's not the most cleanliest and temperature stable area. Haven't lost a one yet. Haven't lost one on here in 5 years. Not one failure. All right, so pros. They're reliable. They're a simple upgrade to fluorescent fixtures when your light bulbs go out. They have lower power consumption. They have the same pros as other light fixture or the shop light temps, that they're easy to hang. You can just hang them by the chains, and on here in these shelves, because they're wood, I could just drill a hole through, pull the chain through, and then stick a piece of fence wire through that hole. So, and then similar with the fluorescent lights, you can mix and match colored bulb temperatures to your heart's desire. And again, they're heavy. They provide uneven light. 2 plugs per shelf. Specs on these bulbs themselves are about $43 per shelf. Bulb plus fixture, if you weren't upgrading your failing fluorescence, is around $57 per shelf. So one of the more expensive options. Power consumption is 73 watts. Total looms per shelf here, 9,200. And again, that's based on the manufacturer's specifications. And then the color temperature of the bulbs that are on this shelf are 3,000 and 6,000. So overall, I really like these. I'm looking forward to putting them out into my barn, in my garage, when we buy probably the next one. Well, not the next one. Some other lights that will come up here later. All right, on to ones that I really wish I could have liked, but I don't like them because they're garbage. And those are the Walmart Hyper Tough LED shop light fixtures. And I think from the picture you can see why I don't like them. They're melting. The plastic is melting off them. They're garbage. But they're cheap. They're easy to hang. They're lightweight. They don't weigh anything near what the regular shop lights want. They're locally available. Cons, they melt. They provide uneven light, and they take 2 plugs per shelf. Costs total for both fixtures around $38. Power consumption is at 106 watts for the shelf. Total looms per shelf is around 10,000. That's 5,000 per light. Again, what it's rated at. And their color temperature is about 5,000. Okay, so on to the one that I would recommend people get when they ask me, is the Barrina. These, I think they call them T8 sticks or something. Links will be down in the descriptions. So what I like about them, they're reliable. I've had these for probably 2-3 years now. Haven't lost a single one. I stole some to put them in the basement around my washing area the first year, so I am down. I would have had another shelf of these if I hadn't done that. They provide even lights. These small sticks, you can just run across as many as you want. Put some on the edges, put them in the middle. You get some even light. I really like that. They're linkable, so you get 1 plug per shelf. It doesn't seem like a big deal to have 1 or 2 plugs per shelf, but when you start getting a lot of shelves going up, that becomes a deal. We've seen good growth on them. Cons, they're more difficult to mount, and you have to buy one and some chain to mount them. So that's not included in the cost, by the way. So cost per shelf is around $41 per shelf. Manufacturer's rated light output, again, for the shelf, so I'm adding them together, is around 11,000 looms. Power consumption, 97.5 watts per shelf. These are 4,000 Kelvin lights. So on to the one that I really, really, really wish I could recommend, but can't. I love these lights. I have them. In fact, I got 3 of them mounted above my head right now because I stole them from the plant lights. And they are the Shenzhen SZHLUX lights. So they are really bright, and you can see that by the power consumption. They consume 50% more power than any of the other lights. So pros, they're bright. You can spread them out so you can get even light distribution. One plug per shelf. Again, they're linkable, and they take the same connector as the Barrinas, so you could mix and match if you wanted. We've seen good growth with them. They have their metal construction. They seem to do a decent job of heat sinking. These actually have 4 rows of LEDs per these fixtures, and they're actually, this picture makes them look bigger than they are. They're very lightweight. The cost per shelf is $45 when you're using 3 per shelf. The, again, power consumption 151 watts. Looms, if you were to believe the manufacturer's rated output at around 8,700 looms per stick, you throw the 3 sticks together, you get 26,000 looms per shelf. Now, I don't know if that's what they're actually outputting, but I can tell you they are brighter than anything else, significantly brighter than anything else we have in there. Color temperature is 5,000 K. So, cons, quality control. First batch we got, one of the sticks was dead. Second batch we got, they all worked. Between the 2 batches of the working lights, 2 of them will flicker until they get warm. Again, I love these lights, but I wouldn't recommend something that had that low of a reliability, at least on electronics. The shelf's fine, that's your choice, but I'm not going to recommend these just based on quality control, although I do like them a lot. Another con, only matters if you're doing video stuff, is that they're AC, and when the cameras do the recording with this light, you see a dark wave kind of slowly roll across the screen. So that's what those are the different ones we've used, or we're currently using. Things that we have failed to use. And actually, is these red and blue strip lights. That's actually a picture from the Amazon link. I'm not going to tell you who they were because it's absolute garbage. The very first year we tried using red blue LED strip lights, I actually glued and stapled them to the board on the bottom. These were supposedly waterproof. Basically, all the LEDs burnt out, and the waterproofing silicone turned yellow. So quality on the lights was garbage, and I ripped them all out. The other problem was, and that's the problem with my implementation, was that I glued them to the top, not realizing I needed to be able to raise and lower them with the plants growing. So those got ripped out and disposed of. The only things I kept were the power supplies, and I used them around some simpler projects around here. Okay, so how do I know how much power all these are taking? Well, Emporia Power smart plugs. I really like this Emporia Power stuff. They're pretty good. They seem to be a company out of Colorado. You can integrate them with Google and Alexa if you want, so they will also behave as smart plugs, but they will allow you to monitor the power, which is pretty cool. They also have, Emporia also has a circuit level, so you can go to your box and install some circuit stuff. So anyway, check them out if you're interested in monitoring your power. I don't use Google or Alexa, and I bought these after I bought the Casa ones anyway. So when we first just put these in, I wanted to be able to control them, and so I bought these Casa smart plugs, which is pretty cool because Casa smart plugs and the Casa app, you can link them together, you can create scenes. So I have the plugs for the grow lights are all in a scene, and I can turn them on and off, and then the plugs, and actually use these out in the barn to put light on the chickens, because where we live it gets really dark early and late and light late in the winter, and you can automate them. You can program them to be local timers or cloud timers. One of the cons there, the cloud timing, if the internet's out, it's not going to come on or off. What else we got here? So Neither of these devices will work with Apple HomeKit. I believe that Casa does have or is coming out with a version that will work with HomeKit, but there are very similar plugs out there that will work with HomeKit compared to the Casa. I have not seen a power monitoring plug that works with HomeKit yet, so that's something to keep in mind. I don't mind having my power monitoring not in my home automation. One, I haven't set up the home automation yet, and two, I don't really need it there. Most of my power monitoring is actually done at the circuit level out of the box, but the smart plugs do make it easy if you don't have that to just go in and how much is this thing consuming, and it be right on your phone. Both, by the way, both of these things are always available on your phone. They're cloud, so if you're not in the cloud, stay away from them. But if you like having the availability of being able to turn things on and off and monitor your power anywhere in the world, these things are cool. I would recommend you check it out. Last thing I wanted to talk about here. One thing to note on the Emporia energy plugs is they have a 10 amp max continuous consumption, 15 amp peak. Most household plugs are going to be 15 amp, so don't overload those Emporia monitors. In fact, my 3 shelves here are probably about as much as you'd want to plug into one. All right, last thing, LED strip lights. You can do interesting things with LED strip lights if you want to go through the trouble of creating a mount and mix and matching your strips and your power and your switching. You can do some pretty cool things and get some pretty high light densities with LED strip lights. I use them around the house for other things. I don't use them for plant growth because that first run was a failure, and the raising and lowering with the setups I have now work out better for Gina. So, but you could do it with LED strip lights. But yeah, I'm not going to go over the plant boxes because I will probably never buy them because those grow light boxes seem expensive. Maybe they aren't. Maybe I'll buy them someday. But right now, this is what we're using. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will put links in the description for most of this stuff. No affiliate links. I'm not getting anything out of it. Just putting them in there for y'all to make use of. Maybe I'll figure out the affiliate link someday. But anyway, have a good day. Talk to you later.